Welcome back to another edition of Six Borough Sports, your home for New York and South Florida sports. Today, we're talking baseball. We're talking Mets, Marlins, and Yanks. But first, I'd like to remind everyone to please like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to at least 50 subscribers. Thank you so much. Starting off with the New York Mets fighting for their playoff lives here. They're playing the Braves as I'm recording this tonight at 7 o'clock. Sorry, not the Braves, the Phillies tonight as I record this at 7 o'clock. They just need to keep winning. I said when there were 10 games left, they need to win seven of them. Right now, they need five more wins. They need to they kind of need to win the Brave series. There's scenarios where they don't need to win the Brave series, but if they win the Brave series, they're looking good because then they own the tiebreaker with the Braves. And we need Lindor back uh, because they just need him back. They need him back for the Brave series. He did get a shot in his back to help heal his injury. And he said he has been feeling better. The shot was on Thursday, so he's had some time to recover. So hopefully we get Lindor back soon. There's also rumors that Sanga might be back in time for some of this final stretch here. But the Mets have exceeded expectations to a certain extent. Yes, they weren't expected to be a playoff team, and yes, they were 11 games under 500. But at the same time, they are the highest payroll in baseball, and they do have talent on the roster that's underachieving. So, yes, they are overachieving in terms of expectations, but there are some caveats to that. Like having the highest payroll in baseball and barely making the playoffs isn't the greatest situation. But I really like Luis Angel Acuna. He's been playing fantastically. Alvarez again stepping up. Alonso has been stepping up a little, but again, he's scoring these runs in these 10-run blowouts, not in the close games. But we'll see. He's got another week or so to figure out and contribute to hopefully a playoff run here for the Mets. They really need to just keep winning. They cannot have a letdown against the Braves. But this is typical. Like they need to get this monkey off their back against the Braves. This, you know, losing in the last week of the season to the Braves and then missing the playoffs. That would be a very Mets thing to do. Now is the time to buck that trend and finally make the playoffs with this team uh, by taking out the Braves. That will be the ultimate show that hey, we are we got over that and we're ready to play here. Ultimately, though, I think the Mets do make the playoffs. They've been playing so well. I know I'm kind of a Mets homer because I root for them, but I think they will make the playoffs. I think they'll just squeak by. Also, the Braves are playing the Royals in the last game of the last series of the season, and the Royals are playing for something. They're on the verge of being like kicked out of the playoffs themselves. So the Braves have two tough series in a row. The Mets have to play Milwaukee after the Braves, which they're not playing for anything. I think they're stuck in their spot. They might be able to move up or down, but home field advantage isn't that important. So it's going to be close. But we'll see. If the Mets show up, if the Mets take two from the Braves, they'll pretty much make the playoffs. So regardless of what happens tonight, but they have Wheeler tonight, so we'll see what happens. Although the Mets play Wheeler pretty well usually, so we'll see what happens. Like I said, I think the Mets will do it. A two-game lead with 7 games left, they should be able to make the playoffs. But again, this is the Mets, and I don't have 100% faith after rooting for this team for so long. Up next, we got to talk about Shohei Ohtani. It is technically we're talking about the Marlins, but he was playing the Marlins when he reached the 50-50 mark. Shohei Ohtani is absolutely ridiculous. 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases in a single season. That game with the 10 RBI, 6 for 6, 10 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and 3 home runs. No, people don't do that in a month. never mind a single game. That was absolutely insane. The one thing I will say about that is it is stat padding because they are playing the Marlins, who are playing for absolutely nothing, and Marlins basically just wanted to put on a show. So like, yeah, let's just pitch to them, which I get. I totally get. They interviewed Skip Schumacher out of the game. It was like, we're going to face him head on. There's no reason not to. And everybody all these Dodger fans in the comment section were like, oh, respect. He understands the game. Respect. No, if you understood the game and you were trying to win, you would pitch around a guy with that stat line. Like if he went 4 for 4, I'd be like, no, you're taking your base and we'll figure it out later. I just find it funny that it's coming from Dodger fans who probably walked Barry Bonds more than any other team because he was in their division. And Barry Bonds, if the Marlins were in the playoff hunt this week, we wouldn't be having this talk about this crazy performance. They would be walking Ohtani, and yeah, you can take second. We'll walk the next guy because the next guy's like Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts. So take your base. We'll deal with the next guy. We'll probably still lose, but we're not going to lose to a guy who can go 6 for 6 with 10 RBIs and 3 home runs and 2 stolen bases. We're not going to lose to that guy. We'll lose to the other guys. But absolutely ridiculous. He's probably going to make the Hall of Fame unless he gets like a major, major injury. But even then, like even in his short stint in what he's done so far, it's been pretty ridiculous. And I can't wait to see him pitch again. That's another whole thing. It's not even like his pitching is bad. It's like he's an ace. Just like boom, you have an ace on your team who can do all this hitting. And it's great this year because Ohtani is finally going to be in the playoffs. That's really exciting. We'll see how the Dodgers do in the playoffs. They're a disappointing playoff team usually. They don't seem to show up. And again, the good teams can figure out a way to neutralize someone like Ohtani by not pitching to him, strategizing different pitching strategies. But we'll see. And that's another thing about baseball. It's not about one guy. And I know the Dodgers have a good roster, but in baseball, you can work around one good guy, and that's how the best player in the league usually doesn't win the championship. But yeah, I just thought that was weird. Like that, all these people in the comment section were praising the Marlins manager for, not walking Ohtani. And I was like, you just admitted that you weren't trying to win the game, which is fine because the Marlins aren't playing for anything. He's not playing for his job. He's gone. He might be the next Dodger manager or the next Yankee manager, depending on if both teams play poorly in the playoffs. So he has no skin in the game. He probably just wanted to see Ohtani do crazy stuff too, which again I don't blame him. But I don't like that people came out here saying he did something noble because if you're playing a competitive baseball game, you're just not doing that. It just makes no sense. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or anything. I'm not saying Ohtani didn't earn it. He did. He 100% earned it. But if the Dodgers were playing the Mets and the stat like the Mets would get into that, he would be 3 for 3, and then they'd be like, "No, we're not pitching to you for the rest of the day." Sorry, unless it was a blowout. So that's my 2 cents on it. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't think it is. It's still pretty cool to see, though. I will give Skip that. I will give him credit for that. It was very cool to see, especially in a very disappointing year where the Marlins aren't even on television. They they have really low attendance and they're just a really bad team right now. And they gave away Jazz Chisholm to the Yankees. Speaking of the Yankees, they finally clinched their playoff positioning. It looks like I don't know if they can still do the wild card. But the Orioles are not going to do it. The Orioles are very disappointing this year. I thought the Orioles were going to take the next step and become the dominant team in the division, and they haven't shown it. They had plenty of opportunities to do so. The real question with the Yankees is, can they win against tough competition in the playoffs? That hasn't been the case the past few years. They just need to get over that final hump. But their menaces from the the Lone Star State are still hanging around. Houston did not look good at the beginning of the year. And I said earlier, I was like, don't count out Houston. They will be back. They play better as the year goes on. And lo and behold, they're in first in the AL West, taking it over from the Mariners. So the Yankees will need to once again figure out how to beat, probably figure out how to beat Houston. Don't sleep on Cleveland, although Cleveland is one of those teams that when they have a great season and then they go and play the Yankees and forget how to play baseball. It's extremely frustrating. So we'll see what happens with the Yankees this postseason. They're going to need contributions out of their other bats besides Judge because teams are going to pitch around Judge if they use the Met strategy, which was pretty effective. The one thing I will say about the Met strategy with Judge was the he didn't have Stanton and Jazz Chisholm protecting him in the lineup, and that changes the dynamic of just pitching around him all the time. But pitching around him is pretty effective, not only because if you don't pitch to him in the first few innings, you can not make him uncomfortable later on in the game when you have to pitch for him in certain circumstances. So it works. I think it works pretty well. I'm not saying like, oh, if you do it, you're going to win. No, it's still going to be tight. The Yankees just still need to prove if they can win a game, a tough game against a tough team in the playoffs. But we'll see what happens this year. They're definitely World Series contenders. I'm not like I don't like the Yankees. I hate them, but I'm being honest here. They're World Series contenders for sure. But that's it for this week. Like I said, I'm trying to be more consistent, but please ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you at the next video. Thank you so much.